My name is Mira. I'm doing a special collaboration with Midwest Magic Cleaning and A Beautiful Mess. We are working in my spare bedroom, which I affectionately call the tree room for reasons that you'll see a little bit later. Now, to explain this collaboration, Bonnie from A Beautiful Mess came over to help me with my spare bedroom. She sent the footage to Mac from Midwest Magic Cleaning, and he is going to give his take on it. Please check out his video and then check out Bonnie's video that we are all posting together today. For those of you new to the channel, back in 2023, I decided that I wanted to work my way out of the mess I had created of my house, and I started cleaning up my living room one little area at a time. And I decided to film it. In fact, this footage was actually taken around the time that I started the channel. I was very enthusiastic, very excited. I was so excited that for a while I was working and filming in the living room in the morning, and then I was working and filming in this spare bedroom in the afternoon. So this footage is actually from September of 2023. I was wearing a mask to preserve my identity, but I have since removed that. And we're in the spare bedroom. If you are not familiar with my channel, one of the things I am known for is my awkward angles. And they were even more awkward in the beginning, including during this time period, because I did not even have a tripod. I had a little box that I would tuck my phone into and I would put it on my stepladder and try to get some angles. I did my best, but it wasn't great then, and I do still have awkward angles now, but they are a bit less awkward than they used to be. As I was watching this footage back, I was thinking, I really wish I could have just bumped the tripod down just a couple of inches here so you could actually see what I'm doing, which is I'm going through a huge collection of notebooks. And then I remembered that I wasn't working on a tripod, so I couldn't really, I could have done better, but it is what it is. Anyway, I collected notebooks for about 20 years, and then I remember it was something that I would do as I would go different places. It was sort of a travel souvenir. And I remember going somewhere and looking at the notebooks and thinking, girl, you have got a zillion notebooks at home and you need to start using them up more if you were going to justify buying any more. I'm pretty proud of that moment, but what you can't see is that, because of the angle, is that I did get rid of half of the notebooks. I'm pretty pleased with those results, although I do want to pare down further. All right, now you can see from this angle why this is the tree room. This has tree wallpaper on one wall. It was like that when I bought it, but eventually I do want to remove the wallpaper and paint that wall to be an accent wall. That is a future project though. Okay, right now I am emptying some packaging from a box, and I'm just gonna keep going through books and sorting through stuff, shifting things around. Let me take a minute to explain how the room got this way. When I moved here 5-ish years ago, I downsized from a house that had about 400 more square feet into this one, and a lot of boxes ended up going in the scrapbook room and into this spare bedroom. This is actually not the first time I have attempted clearing out this room. I started doing that in 2021 during the pandemic, and in that process, I got rid of several boxes of books. I did do a lot, and that is actually when these bookshelves were put into this particular wall. I wasn't able to find my before footage, so what happens when you walk into the room is these bookshelves here are on the right, and then as you go around, it's the tree wall, and then around again is another wall by the window. Under that window, there is a bookcase, which you will see in a little bit. And then we have the closet, which is shelves on one side and a closet on the other. I had dreams of turning this into a library, and so that's what I started to do. And I realized that I don't read as much as I used to. So I decided to let go of the bookcase that is underneath the window and bring in a desk. For now, I am simply plugging away. This angle is super awkward. You can't see anything, so I did cut out a fair bit of footage. But in any case, I came across some fun things. I do enjoy stumbling across things that I forgot I had. I'm also coming across things that I want to donate, including this suitcase, because it really does not work. It has issues with the handle at the top, the one that you pull out to use it as rolling luggage, but it doesn't work. So I am letting that go. I took off the luggage tag because it's kind of fun. I thought I'd keep that. I do have some boxes that are in front of the closet, and I have been putting things in to donate, which you will see in the results. You might be wondering why I keep so many books if, as I said, I don't read as much as I used to. The answer is that I have emotional attachments to things, and that would include books. Books have been a bit of a challenge for me in the past, and still now to some degree. I have gone to a lot of writing conferences over the years, reading conferences. I've met a lot of authors. I have a lot of autograph books, and those are kind of challenging to let go of. That's why my channel is about taking things slowly, doing what I can. I usually do a small space at a time and work on that. And doing things that way has really helped me to avoid being overwhelmed with all the stuff that I'm letting go. I keep stuff if I still feel an attachment to it. I recognize that decluttering is a journey, and it's a continuing journey. Here is some fun art that I have collected, and part of my dream for that accent wall is to put up some of the art I've collected over the years. I've got a lot of nerdy art, so that's pretty fun too. I have a variety of interests and collections, and so I need space for them. I'm also going to have a little comic book corner, but there is so much footage about that that I'm going to make that a separate video. There's actually a little more than an hour of footage that I was not able to include in this because the angles were just beyond. One was a super close-up of my leg, which I'm assuming that I hit the zoom button somehow after I got it set up. Another one is another ridiculous close-up. I'm happy to say that I at least do fewer of those when it comes to my awkward angles. My goal for this particular September session was to move the bookcase away from the wall so that that wall would be available for the desk, and to shift everything to the far right of the room, keeping in mind that I do want to declutter as much as I can as I go, because I know I have way too many books for this room. There are even more books in the laundry room, which is otherwise known as Mount Doom. Something I found very interesting as I was watching this footage is that there are many books that I am keeping in September footage that I let go of in the recent decluttering sessions. Sometimes I just need time to percolate a bit, and as time passes, I want to keep less. I want to just get rid of more stuff. I suspect I will always be a maximalist, but I am encouraged by the idea that this maximalist has learned that it's okay to let go. There have been times in my life where I've viewed it as an all or nothing scenario. Either I need to get rid of everything or I can't get rid of anything. And there really is an in between. And that level of perfect in between changes with time as I go. I love that. I think it's great. I want to talk a little bit about why books in particular are hard for me to let go of, or why I have the emotional attachment. And that is because I grew up sitting by my mom and reading alongside her, and so many of my childhood memories, my best childhood memories, are about reading or related to reading. I grew up and became an English major, and then I went on to get a master's in English, and I developed a great love for classic literature, and so those books became hard to let go. I read romance and even dipped my toe in becoming a romance writer, but those books are hard to let go. As I mentioned, I came to know several different romance authors, and so I treasure those books and those memories, and I think I even treasure the books because of the memories. It's not just the book itself, it's also the memory. And when they're tied so tightly together, you feel like if you let go of the book, you might forget. And I recognize that that's not true, that that's not correct, but that is just tied into why it is hard for me to let go of books. I have books that are coming apart because I have them from childhood, which was many decades ago. There's some trash, including an air filter. I'm just moving that out to the hallway. Getting back to the books. I found that sometimes letting go of some books felt a little like letting go of a dream or letting go of a past self. With my classic literature, I once upon a time, 2 decades ago, had dreams of getting a PhD and becoming an English professor. That didn't happen. My master's degree took an incredible toll on my mental health, and I thought I would just take a year or two and then get back to it. And I soon discovered that no, I don't want to go back to that. I don't want a life in academia. Even when I recognized that, though, I grieved. I grieved for several years about that, about losing the life I thought I wanted, and not knowing what my life was going to be. I floundered for a while there. I really did. And so I hung on to the classic literature, even though I never picked it up again. I would pick up the odd occasional thing, and I definitely kept reading Shakespeare because I just can't not. And I regularly go to plays, well, until the pandemic, and then I kind of haven't gotten back into my groove since then. But anyway, here I am shifting this bookshelf that was underneath the window and moving that out of the way. And we have now reached the end of the footage from September. So sadly, I don't have the before footage. I could not find it, but here is the after. You can see I've shoved a bunch of stuff up here and moved stuff over onto the chaise, and you'll see kind of where I'm going with some of the rest of the stuff. That's the space for the desk underneath this window here, and there's the clutter book because I thought it was funny. That box was my tripod at the time. Oh gosh. I used that box for 2 or 3 months, y'all. Then I got a tripod, and, at least my awkward angles got a little more artful. Now, check this out. I know it was kind of hard to see, like, that I was setting aside stuff to donate, but this all got either donated or thrown away. So I'm pretty happy with that. The 2 dog beds, yeah, they got taken to the Humane Society. We have new before footage. This is jumping ahead in time to November. So here's how this side of the room stands. I have piled a bunch of tarot decks on top of that. So we are just going to get started. Now, we are welcoming my friend back. She helped me with Clutter Mountain, and she came back in November to help me wherever I wanted, and I said, let's work in here, and so that's exactly what we did. This room is small, and it's especially small. It's especially small when there is stuff in it. So it was a bit of a challenge to find a place for the camera, but she figured out the spot and we worked things out. But yeah, we couldn't quite get a great angle. So I'm sitting down at the bottom and you'll see my head bobbing in and out of frame. The angle will improve a little bit later, but mostly this is my friend's show now for the next segment, and she's just going through and showing me stuff, and we are putting it in piles of keep and donate. She is definitely a trooper. She did a ton of work to help me out here and all of the heavy lifting, literally. I appreciate her very, very much. I do have physical limitations, and she really helped me out. My goal was to clean off the bookshelf that all of this stuff in front of it is sitting on, and to go through whatever other books we could. Hello, water bottles. Just want to I don't have moose in my house, but I do have water bottles and awkward angles. I have a couple other critters, but they're not going to be in this for a while yet. Here we come across a box full of audiobooks that were found in the kitchen. And I moved them in here, and I'm going to keep them in here for now. I'm not quite ready to let them go. I do have a CD player in my car, but lately when it comes to audiobooks, I have been doing more streaming than otherwise. So it's something that I kind of, okay, here we go. I'm trying to make a better angle. And now you'll be able to see a little more of my head. It does get a little bit better later on too. Here's the thing about going through stuff. Even when I'm not ready to let something go, sometimes remembering that I have it helps it moves it to the back burner of my brain. So I remember that I have it, and I can kind of let it simmer on that back burner while my brain kind of says, okay, do I really need that? Do I not need that? And so that is something that has definitely been helpful in my process, is realizing that even if I don't let something go now, I may let it go in the future. As I mentioned, there are some books that I am keeping in this particular session that I let go of in the next one. So it's about letting go of what you can and revisiting it down the road. Now we are starting a box that we're putting my K-pop merch into, because I want to keep it all in one place, and it's eventually going to be displayed in my master bedroom. I'm going to have books, comic books, and tarot in this room, and then in my bedroom I will have the K-pop stuff and some other things, but I'll figure that out later. That is a problem for future me. And that reminds me that I do have a merch store where you can get a t-shirt that says that's a problem for future me, because I know I'm not the only one who gives future me some problems. So get that link in the description and you can check that out. I did want to talk a little bit more about books and how sometimes letting go of them is like letting go of a past self. Oh, this, that frame is the one item that I regret donating. I dropped it off at the thrift store ages ago, but I wish I still had it, and it's okay. I can survive. The world is not going to end if I let go of something before I was ready. I just try to learn from it. Back to books and past selves. There are authors that I have enjoyed in the past and come back and reread their books. And now when I think about them, I'm like, I don't need to go back to their books. Or if I want to, I can get them from the library if needed. Then there are other past selves that I'm not ready to say goodbye to. My Latin studying self is one example of that. I studied it in college. I was not the greatest at it, and I really have picked it up hardly at all since then. A few times, but not really. I got rid of some books, but there's still a couple of textbooks that I have held on to. Some books that are in Latin that I am keeping as well. And, someday I may be ready to let go of those too. But if I'm not right now, that's okay. Now, let's talk about how helpful it can be to have someone to work with. Like my friend, she is much better at decluttering than I am, and so she will ask me questions. She will challenge me on things and say, do you think you need all of those? Do you think you can let go of more? And, questions are fine. It does have to be someone you trust, though, because you don't want to feel pressured into getting rid of stuff before you really are ready. And that can be hard. But if you find someone that you do trust and you can say, hey, I'm not ready for that, so back off. No. Hands off the Latin textbooks. Then it can work out quite well. And it definitely works pretty well for us. Something else that helped was that in between September and November, I had cleaned and decluttered a bookcase in the living room, and I asked for tips on going through books and how do you decide what to keep and what to let go. And that helped me out so much when I got to this point, because those comments, like like things that I mentioned before, were kind of percolating in my mind. And when it was time to go through more books, I asked myself, okay, is this something that I could readily get in a library? Would I really reread this? Why do I feel like I want to keep it? Asking myself questions really did help me this time around. I was able to let go of more than I thought I would. And that is always a good thing. That whole box, that's going, that left. There she goes. All right, here we go. Back working in the room. And I have got a pile of books in front of me. This pile is of books that I am keeping. So we're going to fill a box there. And I did go through this box again when Bonnie came recently. There are more books to go through, of course. And once this box gets filled, we're going to shift to another one. Here are some audio tapes. And she said, hey, you're really going to use those? Because I would have kept them. And I was like, you know what? No, I'm not going to listen to these again. I don't even have an audio tape player, so how am I going to play it? Once again, I think that's why it can be really helpful to have a trusted friend who can get you out of your conventional ways of thinking, because sometimes I am just like, I'll keep this book because I love my books by this author, and I don't really need all of that author's books. There might be some that I can let go of, and maybe I don't need any, and I can let them all go if I'm not going to reread them. Go ahead and let someone else discover the book rather than let it languish in a box or on a shelf. But that other person can bring in a different perspective, which nudges you outside of your conventional way of thinking. and that is very helpful when it's the right person. I do not trust easily, so I would not be able to do this with just anybody. It would need to be someone that I have a history with, that I have spent a fair amount of time with, that I feel like I could be comfortable with. Of course, there has to be some willingness on both parties to feel free to say to be honest, to say what they're feeling. Some people would watch me go through things in my sometimes slow way and be like, girl, you just need to let this shit go. They might get super impatient and just be frustrated and want to leave. And of course, that's not the kind of person that I would really be able to feel comfortable working alongside. But I've been very blessed both with my friend here and with Bonnie. They are both willing to let me go at my pace, however slow and weird it is. They'll both ask me questions and bring stuff up, but they don't get hurt if I say no or just feel like I can't do what they advise. And the rewards have been pretty cool. Like, I've really been able to let go of more than I anticipated because of their help. All right, I am doing the same thing. I am putting things that I keep on the left, things that I'm letting go of on the right, and I keep working my way back. Well, really, my friend is working her way back. I am just sitting down and sorting. Bless her. I don't know how she stood throughout all of this. She clearly has way more stamina than I do. Oh, and I'm seeing a Star Trek Next Gen book, and I have not been able to let go of my past self, Riker and Troy shipper. That book is staying. It's not leaving my hands. And I think my friend was like, girl, you're not even on camera at all now. So she adjusted that, and you can finally see a good part of my head. So I've been here the whole time, I promise. And here's a bunch of miscellaneous stuff that fell to the floor, so we're getting that figured out and figuring out where to put it. Oh, a bunch of worry dolls. You know what? They have not been worrying for me, so I am going to release them into the world to worry for someone else. Oh, I love a good knickknack or novelty item, but I have to choose them carefully because I have very limited space. So I can let go of the worry dolls so that I can make room, find room, more likely make room for other things instead. We are getting to the end. Oh, does anyone know what that is? We came across it and I'm like, I don't even know what this is. So I don't know if I should throw it away or let it go. If you know what that is, please tell me in the comments. I need to know. This was a nice long section though that she helped me, and I'm just continuing to go through stuff. I was a magazine collector and I'm letting go. I don't need all of my magazines. I just don't. Some are harder to let go of than others. I have a dog training magazine that I have tons of articles that I haven't read, but I still cannot let those go. But others, yeah, I'm letting go. That shirt says, I do a thing called What I Want. And yeah, I'm keeping that. It still fits. And I mean, I don't actually get to do what I want, but it's goals, life goals right there. Now we are 40 minutes into this video, and you might be wondering, where is Bonnie? Wasn't this a collab? Don't worry, she is coming next. We are winding down in here. In fact, we left the room and I said, I will take after footage later. I'm so exhausted, and then later never came. So I don't have after footage. I do have footage of what got donated, so I will be happy to share that with you. But very soon you will see the latest part of the footage where Bonnie and I work together to finish up this room. Alright, as I mentioned, I don't have the after footage, so it seems pointless to show the before, but here is footage of everything that I am donating. Well, I donated. This was back in November, so it is long gone to the thrift store. All right, next up, we are finally caught up, and here is the footage from August 2024. This is the before footage, and yeah, you can see it's changed some in the meantime. There have been more things brought in, and we'll talk about that. But let's go ahead and get started. Got more awkward angles for you. Oh, sigh. Enough about that. I have babbled about my angles for long enough. Now you are seeing one of my two little pups, and one is Clay, and he is 15. The other is Colt, who is 2. He's the new guy. I've had him for about 6 months now, and he is a little hooligan, but I love him. Clay is super sweet, my pretty boy, and they are both a little ragged right now. I have appointments with the groomer, but she was booked out a ways, and we're waiting patiently. Okay, let's talk about some of what ended up coming in here. I ended up moving some things that I had sorted in the living room, and then they ended up in here. This is something that is called churning, when you move something that you have plans to get rid of. Instead of dealing with it, you just move it to a different place of the house. That's the case with a few of these bins. There are also some other bins and boxes that I planned to put in the master bedroom, but I thought I'll just move it into the spare bedroom while I work on the master bedroom for now. So they ended up in here as well. A couple of weeks ago, Bonnie reached out to me and said, hey, I've got some time in my schedule, want some help with one of your rooms? And I said, okay, sure. I reached out to her for the first time last year, and she came and whipped my kitchen into shape. It's really amazing what she did. She helped me out so much. I will never stop being grateful to her, and I was very happy to have her come back, not just to help me with a room, but I am always happy to see her and catch up. She's actually the one who came up with the design for my There's a Problem for Future Me shirt. She's very sweet and real, and she is my superhero. When she came up, we took a look at this room and the master bedroom and decided to go ahead and do this room. Thus, we began. And I mentioned before that this room is small, but it's especially small when you have two people trying to film. And I have to admit, I did a very poor job at the first part of this session trying to find a good angle for me. I should have set myself up at a better spot where I could sit down and go through stuff and you could actually really see what it is that I am doing. This pile was full of little 6x6 scrapbook pages, and they are basically get to know you pages of a group that I belong to. Oh, I don't even know how long ago, 20 plus years ago. And here's the thing, I am not in touch with any of these people anymore. And I do have some 12 by 12 scrapbook pages with them in it. I decided I am going to let go of these small 6x6 ones. I don't need them. They're just taking up space, so I let them go. Another past self that I am just gonna gently say farewell to. I am going to admit that I was a mess this first day, and maybe the whole time, I don't know. But this first day in the morning, I had a rough time getting started. I was going through papers and I just couldn't. And then I shifted over to where the desk was, and I was setting things up there. In the interest of keeping it real, I probably drove Bonnie a bit crazy with this behavior, but I was going through boxes and books, and my thought process was this. I would come across a book and I'd think, oh, I could put that in the little library outside. Or, oh, I could put that with the other art books that are in the living room, and so on and so forth. But Bonnie can't read my mind, and she is working to go through the big picture, whereas I'm like micro-focused on these little things, and I feel like I just made things worse. I'm also going through burnout, and the struggle is very real. There are definitely some things that I am still able to do, but other things like bins with papers and miscellaneous stuff, I was struggling with a lot more. And eventually I got to the point where I was like, papers are going to have to be a problem for future me because I simply cannot. I cannot. That really sucks for future me. But the thing is, I have to respect what I am able to do. And sometimes I'm just not able to go through certain things. It's just more than I feel like I can do, and I get overwhelmed. And that feeling of being overwhelmed can build and build and build until finally you're like, no, I can't do anymore. And so in order to avoid that point, I just said, okay, if I just can't deal with it right now, I am going to set it aside and move on to something that I can deal with. This bin holds items that I found in the kitchen, and I decided I wanted to keep them, but then never found a place for them. And that's what I was talking about with churning. The fact is, I have so much stuff and very, very limited space. In some rooms, I don't really have a place to put things. So when I put stuff away, it's not actually away. It's just in the room where it will eventually live. But that specific home hasn't been found yet, or hasn't been created yet. Eventually, once I go through all of the boxes in Mount Doom, I figure I will end up with stuff in the rooms where they belong, and I can pare down from there even more than I am now. So here at least you can see a wider angle. In my defense, at the start of our work in this room, there's not a lot of room to create a wide angle. And so we were able to do that a little bit better when there were things that got moved out and pulled out, taken to recycling, trash, or boxes of things to donate. At this point, I was looking for things that I could let go of quickly, boxes, clothes, whatever I can find and make quick decisions about. But as you can see, I am a piler. All right, and I am going through clothes. I have a closet in here, and I do hang a lot of things dry in here. When I do laundry, I hang dry a lot of it. I'm just setting things aside. There is a keep pile and a donate pile. This has been a year full of letting go of clothes. In upcoming weeks, you'll see me filling up my new closet. Please subscribe if you would like to be notified when I post videos about that and all of my other decluttering projects, of which I have many. I came across this picture. This is my beloved Cupid, who died last year. He is still very loved and very much missed. I need to find the right spot for that little painting. But right now, he can just watch over me while I work. All right, I found some more K-pop stuff, so I'm going to set that aside to go with the rest. I've got some books that need to be sorted. And I'm finally starting to get a little bit of a groove going. At least I felt like I was. Now I am just working my way through books and bins, going from right to left, finding some tarot. And there's there's little Colt. Surprised he didn't jump up there. He is a little kangaroo. It's funny that that says boop on it because Colt likes to boop people with his nose, and it's pretty funny. And now I just found a locket of me and my dad. I'm very glad that I found that, as you can imagine. All right, now it is after lunch. I'm wearing my jacket because it was raining so hard and it was kind of cold. I started going through this bin and I found a few things that I wanted to keep, but most of it was stuff that I was already planning to let go. I think that was just it was a partially filled box from last November, and I was just waiting to fill it up before donating. But, you know, I have to do a check. I have to double check and make sure. Sometimes people have wondered why I don't just leave the box closed and just let it go without looking inside it. The answer to that is that I would spend more time wondering, what was in that box? Was there something that I didn't want to let go of? Was there rare treasures? Were there photos? Because I'm a big scrapbooker. I would spend far more time wondering what was in the box than it would take me to just go through the box and make sure that I am ready to let it go. It is sad but true. Now, once I came in for the afternoon, Bonnie had set up a little station for me to go through boxes, and that worked out pretty nicely. I'm happy with this. She did something similar when we worked on my scrapbook room together. She is another person who I am happy to work alongside. She gets a lot more done than I do. She works circles around me, so to speak. I call her a tornado, but she doesn't leave destruction in her wake. She leaves organization. It's a wonderful thing, and when you find someone that you work well with, you might as well hang on to him with both hands and maybe a leg. I'm going through more stuff that was on my desk. There are a bunch of little stickers and prints and miscellaneous bits and bobs. I do have a little box for bits and bobs. I also have some stands for the little prints that I'm going to put on. Well, I didn't. Bonnie's son actually put them onto the shelves. I also have a separate container for stickers and postcards and miscellaneous things like that. So I do have what I call my pockets of organization. I am not going to lie, there is a lot of chaos in my house, but I do have those pockets of organization where I know where to look for certain things, which definitely helps my ADD brain. Getting rid of more stuff is also going to help my ADD brain. It's okay if I let go in small batches. That's something that it took me decades to realize, and it kept me frozen in place and unable to make any progress at all because I felt so overwhelmed when I tried to start decluttering. Where do I even start? Where do I put things when I am keeping them? Then I would get very discouraged when I would not finish up a huge room all in one session like you see in different videos, because that's what you're supposed to do, is declutter a room in 1 hour, right? Well, that was never, ever gonna work for me. So I had to come up with something different. And I started doing small spaces at a time. My first video was the front door to the front closet. And the second video was the entryway. I would do very small sections at a time, and I started being able to see results that way. So that's the way that I work. I found Mac's channel, and he would talk about doing things or cleaning up in 3-foot sections. And I was like, oh, that's me. He's talking about me. And no, he wasn't literally talking about me, but he was describing the process that I do. And I left some of this video in because look at that hooligan. He is sneaking stuff away and checking out what's in each box and coming to get head pats. I gotta say, my dogs are a huge reason that I get out of bed. In addition to ADD, I have depression, I have social anxiety, and I've already mentioned my mobility issues. I don't say this to elicit sympathy, but I want other people to know, if you're depressed, if you have physical issues, if you have anxiety issues, you might need to declutter in a different way than society tells you to. But you can still make progress. I called this channel Peeling Away the Clutter because I knew that I would be doing this work slowly and steadily. I knew that it wasn't going to be done overnight, and that's okay. Here's the thing. A year ago, I decided I was going to do something different. I knew that I had to change if I wanted my life to be different. If I hadn't done that, I would still be sitting in a living room with piles of things that I named. There was Clutter Corner, Clutter Mountain, Clutter Tower, and I would still be walking along my little rabbit trails that went around the different piles. I made one decision that became a daily decision, and my life has changed because of it. I am not done. I am nowhere near done. There is a lot left to do. But seeing progress really helped me stay motivated and keep going. My depression didn't go away because that's not how depression works. But I have seen changes and improvements in my mental health. The decluttering work we do matters. I promise you it matters. Even if you are only able to do a little bit each day, go ahead, do that little bit. Do that little bit and you'll feel better. All right, I've got more books. To the surprise of no one, I have more books. I am letting go of more, though. Some of these I have gone through before, some not. That book that box that Bonnie just took away is stuff that I'm letting go, and I'm happy about that. This is when I had a bit of an epiphany. I started coming across authors that I have loads of their books, and I realized I don't need to be a completionist anymore. I don't need to have everything that every author has ever written. I can recognize that I truly loved 1, 2, or even 3 of that author's books, but I can let the others go. And that's exactly what I started doing. Slowly but surely, I can pare down my books to have a manageable collection. A collection that is filled with books that I truly love and want to read. Or reread. At one point, Bonnie asked me about my thought process for getting rid of books or why I want to keep them. And I explained some of the things that I have said throughout this video, and also mentioned there's something else that keeps me hanging on to them, and that is remembering how hard it was to track down certain books by certain authors. But books are made to be appreciated. They're made to be read, and they're not made to be in boxes for decades. That's too overwhelming, and that is one reason why it's good for me to come back and go through more books. I'll keep paring them down little by little until I end up with that true collection of books that I love, use, and enjoy. And the rest can be set free into the world where other people can find them and enjoy them. When I moved into this house, I had the idea that every single shelf in it would have books. My plan was to add shelves around every single wall space to fill it up, and I was a little on my way to achieving that goal. I had the shelves put into the right of the door. I had the one shelf that was put underneath the window. But then I realized that's not my dream anymore. I don't need to have an entire room. Even if I did call this room the library, I have several collections. So maybe this should be the collection room. Even though all of my collections do not fit into this room. But it is starting to come together here, as you see, into a room that serves practical functions. And now we have switched to the next day where I am setting up here. And you can see that the chaise over there that I'm sitting on has been uncovered. And Bonnie set up some books for me to go through along that wall of shelves. And so that's exactly what I am doing. I did this before she arrived on the second day. You can see that the angle in the room changes and improves the more space is created in this room. My goal was to get through as many of these boxes as I possibly could so that it was ready for Bonnie to do the magic that she does with all of the sorted items. I have reached a challenging part of my collection, however, in that a lot of these are books that I am keeping. There are a bunch that I am letting go, so do not fear there. There are lots of hardcovers that I want to keep. I'm planning to go through all of those books that are already on shelves. Do I really want or need them all? But that is also a project for future me. That's a project I am looking forward to, going through, seeing what I can make room for. Most of the books that I am setting free are reference books and romance novels. There are some other genres mixed in there. A little bit of mystery, some sci-fi. Let's bring a water bottle into the picture because I gotta hydrate. Remember to hydrate, people. I have to say again how much I love working with Bonnie. We have a fun rhythm going, and look at that guy. He is trying to see what he can get up to. Colt's Adventures. It's very comfortable working with her. And we do have some patterns set up. As I mentioned earlier, she's more into big picture, and then she gets down to organizing the nitty gritty. But I have to go through things before she can organize them. And with the scrapbook room, we got into this pattern of we would do as much together as we could, and then she would go home for the day. While she was gone, I would do my best to go through more stuff so that she would have stuff that had already been sorted to deal with the next day. Look at me getting rid of that dictionary. We're in the 21st century now, baby. I might even have a newer dictionary in one of the boxes in the laundry room, but if so, I will let that one go too. That's what the internet is for. Now let's talk about the chaise that I am sitting on, because I got that when I lived at my other house. The plan was to create a reading nook right by the window, and I did have that. I used it sometimes, but eventually it really turned into a place for me to pile clothes onto it. It was in my bedroom, and then Clay loved getting on top of it and being king of the hill. So it wasn't really used for its intended purpose. The truth was, I really read the most either on the couch or in bed, so not really in here. Since late last year, I've been thinking about, do I want to keep the chaise? Do I want to let go of it? And I decided I'm letting it go. I have loved it. It served a great purpose. It did right by me, so to speak. But I am ready to let it go. I'm ready to have the space that it takes. I'm pondering getting some sort of small thing to sit on that opens up into a bed, maybe when people come over, but I've never really been someone who has had people come over, but maybe I would if I actually had something for them to sleep on. Decisions, but luckily they do not need to be made today, and I am very glad about that. Here is a book called The Joy of Signing. When I was in middle school, I wanted to learn how to do sign language. I got the book and then looked at it a couple of times and never really did anything with it. I think it would have helped me maybe more to take a class in it. So I am going to let that past dream go. It can be hard to let go of past dreams, of things that you thought you would have, of things that you wanted to do in your life. But one thing I have learned, finally, is that letting go of old dreams makes room for new ones. Now it's time for a little pet therapy. Whew, this is a long video, y'all. If you're still here watching, you are the real MVPs. Oh, we've been going for a while, and I've been talking for a while. I felt pretty pleased with myself because I did actually manage to go through all of the boxes except for one before Bonnie arrived. I know she appreciates it when I can tell her this is keep, this is go, and she just takes the boxes and they disappear into the void. Just kidding. They disappeared to her truck. She has a big truck and she had every corner of it full by the time she left. Ah, so much stuff left this house. I am so happy. When stuff goes out, space is what remains. And I absolutely love it. I can't even tell you how much. I suspect that some of these boxes had not been gone through since I moved here, and I'm glad that that has changed. I weeded out a lot of self-help books. They were a great help to me in my 20s and 30s, but I don't really look at them too much anymore, so most of them I just let go. I made it through all of these boxes. I know I've got more boxes of books in Mount Doom, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. Right now, I will work on what's in front of me. That's a philosophy that has gotten me through my journey so far, and it works for me, so I'm gonna just keep going with it. I'm able to let go of the book about fearful flying because I have flown a lot since I bought that book. I am still not too fond of flying. I can get a little bit travel sick, but I don't need the book anymore, so I'll let it go to someone who will use it. We are about to shift to another part of the room, and that is where I organize and display my tarot decks. When I have mentioned my decks in past videos, I have had comments from people asking, why do I collect them and aren't they evil? So I thought this was a good opportunity to answer some of those questions. Collecting tarot is like any other collection, whether it's art books or puzzles or I don't know what. I collect them because I enjoy them. They're little works of art. They're cards with art on them, and I love having a variety of different styles. Each deck has an energy of its own. Some decks I use when I need a hug. Some decks I use when I need to hear the cold, hard truth. To me, tarot is a snapshot. It reveals what is in the moment. When I look at the cards, I say, does any of this resonate with me? If it does, great. Think about that, make my own decision about what to do on it, and move forward. If it doesn't resonate, I let it go. Tarot isn't evil. It isn't something that forces you to give up your free will. It doesn't tell you what the future is going to be, and nothing can change it. We make our own future, and to me, tarot is simply a tool. It's a tool that I use. It's not the only tool that I use, but it has been empowering for me. Now, you are welcome to disagree, and I am fine with that. I just want you to be open to the idea that maybe they're not evil, and I'm not over here channeling demons. In fact, I'm thinking of Mac's comments that the real demon worshippers are people who don't subscribe. I have to say, I am so happy with how these shelves look. They're clear, and they make my butterfly heart so happy. And now we are at the final before and after. This has been a long time coming. The first footage was from September of last year. Here we are this year in August. My little boy. And now let's take a look at the completed room, which is sort of completed. You know me, I am a maximalist. I'm going to need to maximize this space, so you'll be seeing some videos about that. And you know what? I think I'm finally ready to tackle my bedroom closet too. So we're going to have some fun videos ahead. Thank you so much. If you actually made it to the end, I appreciate you. And please go visit Midwest Magic Cleaning and Bonnie at A Beautiful Mess to see their videos. This has been a really fun collaboration, and I'm super grateful to Bonnie for all of her hard work in this room. She did so much.